What happened in history that influenced you guys to come to the United States?
In um, the late 1970s, the Soviet Union had invaded Afghanistan and wanted Afghanistan to become a communist country. Our family was opposed of the idea, and most of the our family members were in government and military and high ranks. So as when they opposed it, they were in danger, and the only thing to do was to flee the country, or everybody was going to be killed.
Okay. What kind of problems did your family encounter in the past? How were they able to overcome these problems?
In the past, in Afghanistan, like I said earlier, our family was in grave danger, especially the men. Most of the women were not in any uh, government positions or anything like that, but the men in our family were, such as my grandfather, my father himself, um, my great uncles, and so on and so forth. So, when we were trying to escape Afghanistan, the Russians had positioned themselves at the posts in the Afghanistan and Pakistan border, and if they knew that somebody was in government at that time that opposed the communist regime, were going to be killed. So our family had to leave leave Afghanistan knowing that they would probably be killed. Um, my dad had to walk 17 days through the mountains just to get to Pakistan. And then for my sister, for instance, was given to a smuggler to cross the border that my grandfather had known and sent for uh, by herself, and she was about 4 or 5 years old at the time. Um, my mom and myself and some of us were boarded on a bus with her uncle, so we were pretty much separated, hoping that all of us could get united in Pakistan and um, find some type of refuge. So there was definitely hardship on the way from leaving Afghanistan to Pakistan. And then when we arrived in Pakistan, we had seen a lot of difficult times because we left everything in Afghanistan, money, valuables of all sorts, um, just to make sure that we had escaped safely. When we arrived to Pakistan, no one had actually spoken the language, so it was hard to get a job, and it was very competitive at the time as well because there was such an influx of refugees in Afghanistan. Um, my father was educated, but he couldn't really find a job, and he was working, taking pictures of people on the streets, and he didn't make a lot of money, but it was just enough to put food on the table. We shortly went to Iran after 6 months of staying in Pakistan. And while we were in Iran, we had to um, cross the border and make sure that nobody over there was causing any type of commotion, because if we were heard, we would then be killed. At that time, there was an Iran-Iraq war, and so things were intense in Iran. When our family arrived in Iran, it was actually our living condition was a lot better. My dad had found a job in construction, and from there, we knew that my grandfather had sponsored us to come to the United States, and we headed back to Pakistan.
All right. What brought you guys to Chicago?
Well, prior to us coming to the United States, my grandfather had already been here. His wife's uncle was a general, and he had lived in the United States. So he had sponsored my grandfather and my grandmother and their family. And then from there, my grandfather was able to go um, to the to the agency to request us to come, and we then shortly arrived in Chicago.
All right.